What is going on, guys? It is week 12 time for the Sunday morning fantasy football live stream. Already seeing a lot of people in the YouTube chat. Tevin, man, it's early in the live. No need to spam. There's no need to spam. How's it going, guys? This is a good question, though, Tevin, and we will get to it. We'll get through a lot during this live stream, a lot to get through. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. Happy Sunday morning. And to get this one started, this is a question I expected to see today. Ty Johnson or Tevin Coleman. Listen, if you're in a PPR league, I think pretty clearly Ty Johnson's the better option. Ty Johnson's the better pass catcher. I think just in general, Ty Johnson's slightly safer, but you shouldn't feel that good about any Jets running back. That's my general thoughts on these two guys. I think Ty Johnson does have some PPR value. Guys, we're going to get to as many comments as we possibly can today. We're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. Steven says he was the first like on the stream. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, make sure you smash that like button. I do have a free prop pick for us today. We've hit 3 free props in a row now. 3 free props in a row. We've also hit 3 locks against the spread in a row. I got 2 of those for you today as well. We got some questions about Odell Beckham Jr. And Odell Beckham Jr. is the background on the TikTok live right now. I posted a video yesterday about why I think it's not a horrible process to start Odell Beckham Jr. this week in fantasy football. And if you're deciding between him and Kareem Hunt, I would probably go with Odell. I think I'd go with Odell over Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is his first game back. And I think he can score a touchdown this week. But if he doesn't, I'm not really sure what the floor is for Odell Beckham Jr. in a big game for the Browns against the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens have a pretty good run defense. So I would lean towards Odell. Sanders versus Gibson. Guys, Miles Sanders is in a good spot this week. He's in a good spot this week. The Giants have been a bottom 5 rushing defense when you adjust for strength of opponent. And Jordan Howard is not playing this week. There's no Jordan Howard. So it's just Miles Sanders and Boston Scott. I actually think Boston Scott is a pretty good deep sleeper this week as well. I think Boston Scott's a pretty good deep sleeper as well. I'll be right back on the TikTok live. I just got to send a quick message, guys. We are live on YouTube, though. A lot to get through on this Sunday morning stream. All right, we are back. We got a good question here in the YouTube live. I'm going to get to as many questions as I can, by the way. That question was OBJ or Devonta Smith. I go Devonta Smith. Listen, I like Odell Beckham Jr. I do. I like Odell this week. But there's still a lot of good options that I would start ahead of him. And Devonta Smith's definitely one of them against the Giants. 5, almost 6 months subscriber. Thank you, Bandit2K. Cordero Patterson or A.J. Dillon. Yeah, 2 guys going kind of in opposite directions right now. We have A.J. Dillon. And, guys, we're not going to know the Aaron Jones news. We're likely not going to get the Aaron Jones news on this stream. Aaron Jones is a game-time decision today. He did practice all week. But the Packers also have their bye after this week. So it sounds like they still might hold Aaron Jones out. And that really is the deciding factor for this question. But I believe the Falcons play at 1 o'clock. So you're not going to have that information by the time you make this decision. So personally, if Cordero Patterson plays, I think I would go Cordero Patterson. But if Aaron Jones ends up not playing, that's probably the wrong decision. So you have to do a little bit of guesswork on, do you think Aaron Jones is going to play? Personally, I think Aaron Jones is going to play. He practiced all week. So maybe it's in a slightly more limited capacity, but I expect A.J. Dillon to split more work this week with Aaron Jones because Aaron Jones didn't play last week. DK lineup. Nick, there are a lot of good options on DraftKings this week. There's so many good ones. I'm going to make a quick lineup on YouTube of my favorite options. I think my favorite QBs of the week are Tyrod Taylor against the Jets. Guys, the Jets have allowed at least 17 fantasy points to every single quarterback that they've played this season except for one. So start Tyrod Taylor, who's priced so low on DraftKings and FanDuel this week. Tyrod Taylor also, he had an okay day last week. He rushed for 2 touchdowns on 6 carries, but the weather was really bad in that game. really like downpour rain, and he didn't even throw for 150 yards. He's probably going to throw for over 250 yards today against the Jets. So I like the Tyrod Taylor and Brandon Cook stack, but I think really like the thing that I'm doing pretty consistently in all of my DraftKings lineups this week, I'm playing Saquon Barkley. I think you have to play Saquon Barkley on DraftKings, especially if you're playing in a tournament. The Giants are dealing with a lot of injuries this week. No Kenny Golladay, no Kadarius Toney. Saquon Barkley is back, and he played 70% of the snaps last week, which should be his floor this week against an Eagles defense that has struggled against running backs. So I think Saquon Barkley priced really too low this week on DraftKings. He's another guy that I would definitely be playing. Brandon Cooks again stacked with Tyrod Taylor. There's a lot of good deep receivers, though. I like Odell Beckham Jr. in tournaments. I think that he does have a pretty good ceiling this week. I also like Elijah Moore a lot. Now that Corey Davis is officially out, Elijah Moore stacked against Tyrod Taylor and Brandon Cooks is probably my favorite three-way stack of the slate. I like Jamison Lee Crowder as a deep stack as well. I will not lie. Another guy that you can consider playing that's pretty cheap on DraftKings and FanDuel is Leviskischenault. Leviskischenault is going to be forced back into the slot. No, Kenny Golladay is playing. Sorry. Did I say Kenny Golladay? I meant Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney. Kenny Golladay is playing. Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney are not playing. My favorite tight ends on the DraftKings slate. Guys, you got to strongly consider Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski is back, and he played a pretty considerable amount in his first game back last week, more than I was expecting. I feel like I have been underrating Gronk really for the better part of this season in the games that he's played. And in his first game back last week, he played 63.5% of the snaps, 8 targets, 6 catches, 71 yards. No touchdowns, though, and we know Gronk has been a touchdown machine in his games with Tom Brady. He scored 4 touchdowns in the first 2 games this season. And he gets the Colts this week, and the Colts secondary has not been very good. But I also like Dallas Goddard a lot, too. The Giants have struggled against tight ends, and Dallas Goddard's commanded a very high target share since the departure of Zach Ertz. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. Come to the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. You get a little bit more information on the YouTube Live. About to pull up my top 10 rankings for every single position, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, all that in the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio. I think if you're playing on DraftKings and FanDuel this week too, like just pay up. Just pay up for the Patriots defense. Just do it. The Pats defense is really the only clear high upside play at the defensive position this week. Guys, the Titans are just decimated on offense. No Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown, no Derrick Henry, no Jeremy McNichols. I think they're without one of their offensive linemen too. So here's a lot of the guys I like on DraftKings this week, and these are all good values. Every single one of these guys. You'll notice I tossed in Christian McCaffrey there. I have very few lineups on DraftKings this week without Christian McCaffrey. This is the best part about DraftKings. It's like you can just play the best players. So just play, like there's so many good values that we can just play Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey, the clear number 1 overall running back this week. It honestly isn't that close. If you come to the YouTube Live, link is in the TikTok bio. You can see my top 10 running backs this week. And pretty obviously in ahead is Christian McCaffrey. Guys, Christian McCaffrey has gotten over 20 fantasy points in almost 90% of his games over the last 2.5 years. And Christian McCaffrey is unique among all other fantasy football players in the sense that he does not need to score a touchdown, and he will still go over 20 points. That's the type of volume Christian McCaffrey sees. And that's why DraftKings is fun. Because if you didn't get the first pick in your fantasy draft, it's okay. Because we can still play Christian McCaffrey pretty easily with how many good values there are on DraftKings and FanDuel this week. So, in quick summary, if you're playing DraftKings or FanDuel this week, and I did enter a bunch of tournaments this week on DraftKings, the most common players that are in my lineups, Tyrod Taylor, stacked with Brandon Cooks, stacked against Elijah Moore. That's my favorite stack of the week. But then at the running back position, so many of my lineups have both Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. I really think you got to be starting Saquon Barkley in tournaments. Definitely in tournaments. I think you should consider him a head-to-head contest as well. Gibson or Aaron Jones? If Aaron Jones, we're not going to know the Aaron Jones news. This is the thing. We won't know the Aaron Jones news until likely around 3 o'clock Eastern. It's like an hour before that game. But you're going to have to play Antonio Gibson before that. So it's not an easy spot to decide. I think Aaron Jones is going to play. But if you have to start someone like Cordell Patterson, for example, over Aaron Jones, I think you have to play it safe and start the guy you know is playing. Russell Wilson or Cam Newton. This is one of the questions of the day. And I got a question here on the YouTube Live. Russell Wilson versus Joe Burrow. Russell Wilson is the definition of a high upside, high risk play at this point. He's really struggled in his first 2 games back. There's really no hiding it. The Seahawks in general on offense have not been what they should be this season. But it's really been evident in the last 2 weeks. It's not like he hasn't had good matchups over the last 2 weeks. He played against the Green Bay Packers, who were torched by the Vikings last week, by the way. He only completed 50% of his passes, under 10 fantasy points. Then he plays the Arizona Cardinals. Doesn't even pass 210 passing yards, under 55% completion percentage, under 10 fantasy points. This is Russell Wilson we're talking about. But he gets a good matchup against the Washington football team, who has allowed the most points to quarterbacks this season. So I think you can start Russell Wilson this week. And there's definitely upside there. Like, I think he's going over 10 points. I could easily see him going for 30 plus. But it's still Russell Wilson. He still has Tyler Lockett. He still has DK Metcalf. And there's no Chris Carson. Russell Wilson is a guy that I feel comfortable starting. But Cam Newton is a safer option. Guys, Cam Newton's a safer option. Cam Newton played well last week, completing over 75% of his passes, obviously very involved in the running game. And he gets a pretty good matchup against the Dolphins this week. The Dolphins have been the 5th worst defense against quarterbacks this season. And I've long thought, and the numbers have long shown, when you adjust for strength of opponent, the Dolphins are also one of the weakest run defenses in the league. It's why I love Christian McCaffrey so much this week. But it's another reason why you can like Cam Newton. So I would argue Cam Newton's much safer than Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson has a higher ceiling. I would argue, Eric, the same thing with Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow has a pretty good matchup this week as well. The 49ers ranked 9th worst. Sorry, not the 49ers. 49ers are not playing the Cincinnati Bengals. The Pittsburgh Steelers are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Pittsburgh Steelers rank about average against quarterbacks. But that game, the Pittsburgh Steelers-Bengals game, is honestly probably the game I'm least confident about heading into this week. Justin Herbert put up 382 passing yards against the Steelers in a 41-37 victory on, I think that was Monday night. Like, this Bengals game feels like it could be extremely high scoring. So I don't hate playing Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had 17 points against the Steelers in week 3. He threw 3 touchdowns in that game, only 172 passing yards. So I think if I were to make this decision, I would probably go Russell Wilson, but Joe Burrow is definitely safer than Russell Wilson. Locks of the day. Yeah, let me pull up my picks against the spread. I do have 2 locks today against the spread. Sorry, it still says Thanksgiving. Let me change this. We did hit our 1 lock on Thanksgiving, though, and I hope you guys were hammering the Deshaun Jackson prop as hard as I was on Thanksgiving. We talked about that on the Thanksgiving Live. But, man, Deshaun Jackson, first TD, 56 yards. What a beautiful sight that was. Guys, we're 66% on the locks, though, this season. And I got 2 locks against the spread today. One is the Eagles. The Eagles minus 3.5 versus the Giants. I feel like there's this general perception right now about this game that all of a sudden the firing of the Giants offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett, is going to solve all the problems for the Giants. And I don't think that's going to be the case at all. I don't see how firing your offensive coordinator during the season is somehow being viewed as this positive sign for the offense. An offense that's going to be without Kadarius Toney, an offense that's going to be without Sterling Shepard. So I like Saquon Barkley this week, but I think the Eagles pretty handedly beat the Giants. And the Eagles are on a pretty good hot streak right now. And the defense is playing well in the secondary. So I like the Eagles to cover the 3.5 spread. But I also like the other game that I do like is the Rams against the Packers. I just feel very, very good about the Rams getting the bye at the perfect time. And the talent is there for the Rams. Everyone knows the talent is there. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. Come to the YouTube Live. You can get my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, which can answer a lot of the questions I'm seeing in the chat right now. You can also see my favorite picks against the spread. The link is in the TikTok bio to come to the YouTube Live. If you are in the YouTube Live, guys, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. We're going to talk through everything we got to talk through today to get you ready for Football Sunday, the best day of the week. Michael Carter, IR, no. Yeah, I know. It's tough. It's tough to see him on Michael Carter, who really was putting together a great rookie season. And I think he's going to be a really good all-around running back. I gave my 5-star review. Hey, Sam, I have Zeke and A.J. Brown. Just brutal. Should I trade them or wait it out? If you're 6-5, Julian, you can't wait it out. You got to make the fantasy playoffs. Don't bet Rams, says Jack. Don't bet Rams. Listen, the bye week came at the perfect time for the Rams. I really think the Rams beat the Packers this week. Love the app and gave it a 5-star review. Keep up the good work. Quick question. Alex Collins, Ty Johnson, Van Jefferson at flex. Yeah, I would probably go with Ty Johnson. Alex Collins feels like a trap to me this week. He feels like a trap. He should be a solid running back too. He's on the Seahawks, who are generally a run-first team. There's no Chris Carson. He kind of has the backfield to himself. But Alex Collins is another one of these running backs who's not going to catch very many passes. And if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably scoring less than 10 points. So I think Ty Johnson's a pretty good play in a PPR league. Like, Ty Johnson's going to get some catches today. App is great. I use it every week. Thanks, man. Dontre Hilliard or Devonta Freeman? Yeah, I'd probably go Hilliard over Freeman. Hilliard's a deep play, but there's no Jeremy McNichols this week. And there's no A.J. Brown either. Like, the Titans have to throw to someone. And Hilliard was that someone just last week. The Patriots also have been actually pretty bad defending running backs this season. It's the worst part of the defense for the Patriots, and they've allowed a lot of running backs to get those underneath passes. They've been, I think, bottom 10 in the league in terms of passes allowed to running back. So I think Hilliard's a pretty good play. Odell Beckham Jr. or Deontay Foreman in a half PPR league. Yeah, I don't feel as good about Deontay Foreman as I do Hilliard this week, because the Patriots are -7. They're 7-point favorites. And I expect the Patriots to beat the Titans in this game. And that Foreman is the type of running back that can be game scripted out of a game. So I would go Odell. Like, this is Chase. This is the exact situation where I would just go with the higher upside option, which is Odell. 1 year YouTube sub. Wow, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Can't believe it's been over a year at this point. Thoughts on Brandon Cooks this week? Yeah, I like Brandon Cooks a lot. I'm playing Brandon Cooks in a lot of DraftKings lineups this week. And he has not been consistent this season. Really, he started off hot, and ever since he's been pretty inconsistent. But Nico Collins, who's been the number 2 wide receiver for the Texans, at least he was last week, he's questionable to play. And even if he plays, it sounds like he might be on a limited basis. And they're up against the Jets. And this is a really good matchup for the Texans. It's a really good matchup for the Texans. And even though Brandon Cooks has been inconsistent, his playing time and his workload has been pretty consistent. Like, he hasn't played less than 80% of the snaps in a single game this season. So, yeah, I like Brandon Cooks this week to have a bounce-back game against a really bad Jets secondary. The Jets' defense has been awful this season, guys. Like, in pretty much every area. So, I do like Tyrod Taylor as a deep sleeper. The Jets have allowed at least 17 fantasy points to every single quarterback they played except for one this season. Every single quarterback. And they've given up the 13th most points to wide receivers too. So yeah, I do like Brandon Cooks. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Happy Sunday morning. We're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. You got to come to the YouTube Live. I got my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, all showing on the YouTube Live. You get a little bit more info. Can answer a lot of your questions. Link is in the TikTok bio if you aren't in the YouTube Live already. But on top of that, guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, you got to check it out. And if you haven't done any of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app, this is the time to do it. This is the last day of the Black Friday sale where you're getting up to 40% off of the WalterPicks subscription in the WalterPicks app. This is the cheapest it is all year to join the premium subs in the WalterPicks app, where you get unlimited start-sit comparisons, unlimited trade analyzers. You also, if you subscribe now, it's a 365-day subscription. So you also will get access to the draft tool to absolutely dominate your leagues next season. Not to mention the DraftKings FanDuel advice, the player prop advice, and all of the NBA betting advice as well. So, guys, you gotta go subscribe to it in the WalterPicks app. It's literally less than $5 a month right now. Link is in the bio to do that. Link is in the YouTube description as well. Thoughts on Metcalf? Yeah, I mean, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You got to start both of them today. You got to start both those guys today. They both have an astronomical ceiling. They both could go over 30 points. I'm not saying they both will go over 30 points, but this is the way I approach fantasy football. It's about a range of outcomes. And both those guys have 30 plus points in their range of outcomes. So you got to start both of them. What's the DFS lineup for today? Yeah, let me pull this up. And I love to see these comments coming back because we've been crushing the DraftKings lineups over the last couple of weeks. We crushed it on Thanksgiving too because I had Deshaun Jackson in all of my DraftKings lineups, and he was under 2% rostered. So that was straight money. So this actually isn't a full lineup. This is more than a full lineup on the YouTube live right now. But these are just a bunch of guys that I like at every position for DraftKings this week. And I think even if you mix and match all these players, like you'll still have a lot of salary left over to work with. So these are like my favorite values showing on the YouTube live right now. I like Tyrod Taylor. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that 49ers-Vikings game could be a massive shootout. You want pieces of that game. But I think my favorite stack of the week on DraftKings is Tyrod Taylor stacked with Brandon Cook stacked against Elijah Moore. Guys, Elijah Moore is going to feast today. There's no Corey Davis. Elijah Moore is having his coming out party this season, and it took a little bit of time for the Jets to finally give him the opportunity. But he played 80% of the snaps last week against the Dolphins, 141 yards and a touchdown, 8 catches, almost 30 fantasy points. He's had over 25 points in 2 of his last 3 games, and he gets another good matchup this week. He's had at least 13 points in 4 straight games. And again, there's no Corey Davis this week. So you got to like Elijah Moore a lot. And I do like Jameson Lee Crowder a lot too. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. We're just getting started on this live stream. There's so much to get through today. A really exciting slate of games. Guys, you look at the spreads of all the games today, there's only one spread that's more than a touchdown, or that's a touchdown or more. Every single spread today, every single one. You can see the spreads at the bottom of the screen if you're watching live on YouTube. Look at these. Every spread is within 4 points. The Patriots are 7-point favorites against the Titans. They're the biggest favorites of the day. The Jets, 2.5 against the Texans. Eagles, 3.5-point spread. That's an under 4-point spread. The Bucs are only 3-point favorites against the Colts. That's under a 4-point spread. The Jaguars are only 2-point underdogs against the Falcons, under a 4-point spread. The Panthers, under a 4-point spread against the Dolphins. The Steelers, under a 4-point spread against the Bengals. The Chargers, under a 4-point spread against the Broncos. And the 49ers, under a 4-point spread against the Vikings. And the Rams, under a 4-point spread. All of these games are expected to be close. So do not be surprised when we see some upsets this week, and even the Ravens versus the Browns. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy with how close all these spreads are. We have not had a week like this in so long. Anything can happen this week in week 12, except for the Patriots losing, I guess. So hopefully that one doesn't happen. Start Lamar or Russ. Guys, don't bench Lamar. Do not bench Lamar. Do not bench Lamar. Hi, Sam. Good morning. Please pick 3 between Devonta Smith, Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, guys, I don't want to start Elijah Mitchell this week. You read the reports that are coming out about Elijah Mitchell, and if you're in a PPR league, like you just can't be starting Elijah Mitchell. It sounds like he can't catch. Like they just didn't throw the ball to him. He wasn't dealing with any catches all practice. You can't play Elijah Mitchell if he's not going to catch the ball. I feel like his floor is just way too low, and his ceiling seems capped to me too. And Devo Samuel's involvement in that backfield makes things even worse. Like Devo Samuel's the best running back on the 49ers right now. It's actually not that close. So if I were to pick 3 here, I'd probably go with the first 2 for sure, and then probably Ty Johnson over Dave Johnson. What do you think about this Colts-Bucs game? Yeah, honestly, I was extremely surprised to see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come out after their bye and lose to the Washington football team, but then they beat up the Giants pretty easily on primetime this past week. I think the Buccaneers beat the Colts. I don't think this is necessarily a great matchup for the Colts. The Bucs are the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor's been going off recently, and he did so even against a good Bills rushing defense. But I don't think it's going to be easy for him to do so against this Buccaneers defense. But then on the other side of the ball, this is also a really good matchup for the Buccaneers offense. The Colts secondary has really struggled this season. So I do like the Bucs to beat the Colts. And I think they cover the spread too. Just got an app, but my selections are way too close. I appreciate you subscribing to the app, man. Let's take a look. Devontae, Pittman, Judy, Ayuk. Yeah, I would probably be benching Pittman here. I would probably bench Pittman. I think I'd play Judy, Ayuk, and Devontae over Pittman Judy's a really tough one for me this week because the Charger secondary is good. But they also didn't play very well last week. Judy versus Pittman's really close. I know Pittman didn't do very well. He has a much better matchup against the Bucs. Judy versus Pittman is what it comes down to for me, though. I would definitely be playing Devonta Smith. I would definitely be playing Ayuk. Muth or Gesicki. Yeah, let me pull up my top 10 tight ends on the YouTube Live. Guys, we're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok right now. Link to the YouTube Live is in the TikTok bio. And you get my top 10 rankings at every single position right at the bottom of the screen if you come to the YouTube Live. Answers a lot of these questions. Thoughts on Pitts? Yeah, I mean, you got to start Kyle Pitts. I said this on Thanksgiving. And we had a lot of good tight end games on Thanksgiving, which we were expecting. But, guys, you got to start Kyle Pitts. You have to start Kyle Pitts. And I understand the frustration of Kyle Pitts, people that have Kyle Pitts on their team. I understand the frustration. He's been super inconsistent. Really, like he hasn't had very many big weeks. But this is a week where you absolutely need to be starting Kyle Pitts. He gets the Jaguars. The Jaguars are one of these few teams in the NFL that could easily be one of these defenses that just does not focus on Kyle Pitts. Every defense so far has been it's so easy to focus on Kyle Pitts with how little talent the Falcons have on offense. But don't put it past the Jaguars to not do that. Kyle Pitts is the number one receiver for the Falcons. So getting to start him in your tight end slot against the Jaguars is something you absolutely have to do. I like Gesicki this week too, but I would definitely be going Muth. Moore or Ayuk? Yeah, I like DJ Moore just a little bit more than Ayuk. I like Ayuk more than OBJ, though. I would be playing Ayuk over OBJ. Guys, Ayuk has a really high ceiling this week. The Vikings secondary has not been good. They have not been good. Ayuk is a really good start. OBJ or Myers. Yeah, Jacoby Myers is a really interesting one for me this week. Because on one end, he has a really good matchup, right, against the Titans. But on the other end, for all the Pats receivers, the Patriots have been one of the most run-heavy teams in the league this season. And it does lower the ceiling for all the Pats receivers. I think OBJ has a much higher ceiling than Jacoby Myers this week. Deante or Hollywood. Guys, Deante Johnson is just a guy you have to be starting. He's seeing too much volume to bench in fantasy, especially in a PPR league. I think I have him as a top 10 receiver this week. Let me pull up my top 10 wide receivers. Yeah, I do. He's my number 10 ranked wide receiver. Start Deante Johnson. Start Devonta Freeman. I don't think he's a must start. Elijah Mitchell or Jeff Wilson. Yeah, I don't like Elijah Mitchell. If he's not going to be able to catch passes, and there was actual reports this week that in practice he could not catch passes. Like his finger is too injured to catch passes. So if you're in a PPR league, I don't know how you could possibly feel good about Elijah Mitchell. Curtis Samuel, People Jones, or Keelan Cole Sr. Yeah, guys, don't start Curtis Samuel. He's back. It sounds like he's going to be back this week, which is exciting. It's been kind of a lost season for Curtis Samuel, who I think has played in 2 games, but one of them wasn't even a full game. Donovan People-Jones is probably the higher ceiling guy, and Keelan Cole is probably the safer floor, though. Hey, Sam, love the app. Thanks, Caleb. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the WalterPicks app yet, the link is in the TikTok bio. The link is in the YouTube description. Check it out. You got to check it out. And you got to start the 7-day free trial so you can lock in the Black Friday sale, because the Black Friday sale is ending in the next few hours. Like, you only got 3 hours left. So if you've been on the fence about a WalterPicks subscription, right now you're getting it for under $5 a month. I mean, nobody has gotten this good of a deal since we launched the WalterPicks app. So if you've been on the fence, you got to go start your 7-day free trial. Give yourself 7 days to decide. All right, rank these 3. Miles Sanders, OBJ. Miles Sanders, OBJ, Ayuk for flex full PPR. Also, even if Aaron Jones plays, should I start him or Dylan? Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, I would start Aaron Jones over AJ Dillon. That's perfect, by the way, Caleb, because we're not going to get the Aaron Jones news probably until like 3 o'clock. So you're not going to be able to just really know if Aaron Jones is playing until after the first game start. So having a backup option for him is important. A guy like Darrell Henderson's a really good option, but AJ Dillon's just as good as well. Because if AJ Dillon sits, if Aaron Jones sits, AJ Dillon's a top 10 running back. But if Aaron Jones plays, AJ Dillon's more like a running back 3. Ranking Miles Sanders, OBJ, Ayuk for the flex, though, in a full PPR league, I would say Ayuk's number 1, Sanders is number 2, OBJ is number 3. I would argue OBJ has a higher ceiling than Miles Sanders because, man, you can already picture it. And I know that our Eagles.WalterPicks creator, Ben, posted a video about this week. Like, Miles Sanders is set to smash this week. He's probably going to go over 100 rushing yards. But you just know they're going to get in the red zone. They're going to be 5 yards away from the end zone, and Boston Scott's going to be the one that scores the touchdown because that's just what the Eagles love to do to Miles Sanders. But yeah, Ayuk's the highest floor and highest ceiling play. Ayuk, guys, he's seeing consistent volume in a really good matchup in a game that has really high over/under. The Vikings secondary really has not been good this season. You got to be starting Ayuk. Roll top 10 QBs, please. Yeah, I got you. There's a lot of good quarterbacks this week. And the one guy who is ranked number 11 for me that's not on this top 10 list is Tyrod Taylor. I would rank Tyrod Taylor probably 11th on this list. Chargers and Pats win. Yeah, I think both those teams win. Respond in TikTok Live. I always see those comments, but then I don't see the comment you actually sent. So it's really not a helpful comment. Ayuk or Deante? Yeah, guys, you got to start Deante. You have to start Deante. 2-year app subscriber. Marcus, thank you so much, man. Guys, not only are you getting the best deal on the WalterPicks app that you can get literally all year round right now, and again, it's a year-long subscription. So even when you subscribe now, it's not like you're only getting 3 weeks of the app. You're getting 365 days of the app, which includes the start of next season all the way up till week 12 of next season. But thank you for subscribing. It's the number one way you could possibly support me in the WalterPicks brand. Stafford or Newton? And Deontay Foreman or Rashad Bateman? Yeah, I'd go Bateman over Deontay Foreman. And I don't think Stafford's a super safe bet this week. I don't. I think the Rams beat the Packers, but I would argue Cam Newton's much, much, much safer than Stafford. I would be starting Cam Newton over Stafford. I actually think I am starting Cam Newton over Stafford in one league. Pick 2, Pittman, DJ Moore, Cordell Patterson, or Elijah Moore. Start Elijah Moore. Guys, start Elijah Moore this week. I'd probably start DJ Moore and Elijah Moore. I'd probably rock with the Moores here. Pittman feels like a high upside option that I could be sleeping on a little bit this week. Like, I don't think I have Pittman in any of my DraftKings lineups. I feel like Beartugi, I've already told a bunch of people to bench Pittman for DJ Moore. But I think DJ Moore's safer. DJ Moore's had at least 7 targets in every single game this season. And the Dolphins just got absolutely torched by Elijah Moore last week in the slot. And that's exactly where DJ Moore is going to be playing today against the Dolphins. So I'd like DJ Moore this week. And you got to like Elijah Moore against the Texans too. You got to like Elijah Moore. Sam, love the app. Can you help me start too? DJ Moore. Oh, is this another Pittman, Ayuk? Oh, God, again, I think I would probably – I don't want to be benching Devonta Smith. I got to be honest. Devonta Smith's breaking out, guys. Devonta Smith is what I was hoping he would be, which is super exciting. You look at the past games for Devonta Smith. He's played over 90% of the snaps in back-to-back games. He's had at least 10 points in 4 of his last 5. And he played against Marshawn Lattimore in his past game. Still put up 61 yards. He still had 6 targets. But I think Ayuk is slightly better than Devonta Smith this week. And the Eagles are also one of the most run-heavy teams in the league right now. And it's working. And it's going to work against the Giants, who are bottom 5 rush defense when you adjust for strength of opponent. So I'd probably go DJ Moore and Ayuk over Devonta Smith and Pittman. But I don't feel good about benching Devonta Smith. What's your top wide receiver waiver pickup now that A.J. Brown is out? Go back to receivers. All right, let me go back to receivers. My top wide receiver pickup, I'd go see if Jameson Lee Crowder is available. I think he's available still in over half of leagues. In PPR leagues, especially with no Corey Davis. Jameson Lee Crowder is probably going to play close to 80 to 90% of snaps for the Jets this week. I like Elijah Moore more than Jameson Lee Crowder, but Jameson Crowder is going to be involved this week in a good matchup against the Texans. I also think Leviskischenault is going to do better this week than he's done in the past. And I know, guys, rooting for the Jaguars is not something we want to put ourselves through. Like, life is hard enough. Fantasy football is hard enough. Why start Jaguars players? Why put our faith in Urban Meyer? Leviskischenault has been under 15 fantasy points in every single game this season. His best game this season was back in week 1. But this could be a turning point for Leviskischenault because Jamal Agnew is out for the season. This is his first game without Jamal Agnew. Agnew led the Jaguars in targets after the DJ Chark injury. But more importantly, Agnew was playing in the slot, which is where Leviskischenault thrived as a rookie. So Leviskischenault is going to be forced into a position where he's better. And he gets a matchup against the Falcons, who really struggled on defense in the secondary. And they're far, far, far worse at defending the slot than they are on the outside. So I do like. Sorry, I lied. Leviskischenault's best game was week 4. He did go over 15 points once. Though I bet you guys believe me because that's how bad Leviskischenault has been. So I think Leviskischenault has a realistic chance to go over 15 for the second time this season, and I expect him to go over 10 points this week. So I don't think he's the worst waiver wire ad either if he's out there. If he's not, then I'd go check if Hilliard is available. Dontrell Hilliard, who's going up against the Pats, like he's probably going to see at least 5 targets this week out of the backfield for the Titans. Good morning, Sam. Brandon Cooks, Miles Sanders, or Jameson, Elite Crowder. Yeah, I don't think I'd play Crowder over either of these guys. I would definitely go Brandon Cooks. Miles Sanders has a really safe floor too. But Boston Scott will be involved. And we also know that Jalen Hurts has a chance to steal the touchdown too. Good morning, Sam. Love the channel. Thanks, Tyler. Yeah, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the like button also. But also come to the YouTube live. The link is in the TikTok bio because on the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, my favorite picks against the spread, just all on the screen. So you get a little bit more info as I'm talking. I can help more of you if you come to the YouTube live. Download the app, though. That's what I'm talking about. Hashtag download the app. Pick 2, OBJ, Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith, Mike Williams. Yeah, again, I think you have to start Elijah Moore. I really think Elijah Moore is a must-start player against the Texans. They've allowed the 13th most points to receivers. Elijah Moore's really, he's starting to come into form. But then on top of that, Corey Davis is out. So, there's too many stars aligning for Elijah Moore not to be starting Elijah Moore. And with these good of options too, Tyler, this is not a situation where I would be starting Odell. Odell Beckham Jr. is a risky play this week. Let's be real. I believe he has a higher upside than most people are giving him credit for. I think the bye week came at the perfect time for the Rams. And I think he's stepping right into the Robert Woods role. And he could easily do better in the Robert Woods role than Robert Woods did. Robert Woods had at least 9 targets in each of his last 2 games. But yeah, I think I would probably go Devonta Smith over Mike Williams and over OBJ. But I'm going Ayuk and Elijah Moore max over Devonta Smith. Woods is way better than OBJ, LOL. Yeah, we'll see. I understand the take there. I do. But it's not like Robert Woods was having a good season. He really wasn't. Robert Woods was not having a good season. I mean, he was obviously being outplayed by Cooper Kupp, who's been top 3, maybe top 1 receiver in the league this season. I think you could argue he's been number 1. But Robert Woods was having a really inconsistent season. I don't think there's that crazy to think that Odell can do better than Robert Woods stuff. You look at the situation Odell Beckham Jr. has been in, and Odell gets so much hate, guys, but he's been on one of the most run-heavy teams in the league over the last 2 years. He really hasn't had very much volume. DraftKings lineup. Yeah, Kyle, let me pull the DraftKings. My favorite DraftKings play again. This is more than just one lineup, by the way. If you come to the YouTube live, I got my DraftKings lineup showing. This is a bunch of players at a bunch of different positions, all really good values. But the consistent themes across my DraftKings lineups this week, I'm stacking Elijah Moore and Brandon Cooks together. I'm playing Tyrod Taylor a bunch, but I'm also playing Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley in almost every single lineup. Thoughts on Kareem and Cordero? Yeah, both guys coming off injuries, which adds risk. It adds risk. I think Kareem Hunt is riskier than Cordero Patterson, though. Will Debo continue to be good with Ayuk? Yeah, of course. Devo Samuel's just an absolute tank. Devo Samuel is the best running back on the 49ers. And the 49ers are starting to realize this. And I've actually long said, I've been saying this for a year and a half, that Devo Samuel is basically a running back. He's basically a wide receiver built like a running back and who plays like a running back. He's been the best yards after the catch receiver in the league over the last year and a half. Nobody evades tackles like Devo Samuel because he's essentially a running back once he gets the ball. That's how good after the catch he is. And so the 49ers are just saying, screw it, let's just play him at running back. And I think it's actually, it's working out super well for him. So yeah, obviously Devo Samuel's going to be fine. Guys, Devo Samuel has at least 10 points in every single game this season. From a fantasy football perspective, he's got over 15 in over half of his games. And it's another good matchup against the Vikings this week. Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon? Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, I'd play Aaron Jones. If Aaron Jones plays, I'd play Aaron Jones. But if he doesn't play, A.J. Dillon's a better option than either of them, obviously. Start 2 of 3, Judy, Patterson, or Waddle. Yeah, Jalen Waddle, the Dolphins up against the Panthers this week. I don't think that's a great matchup for Jalen Waddle. He will avoid some of their best corners because he plays more in the slot. But I'm a little nervous for the Dolphins this week in general. I think I would be starting Judy and Patterson over Jalen Waddle this week. Saquon or Robinson? Yeah, guys, James Robinson is he's off the injury report for the first time in what feels like a while for James Robinson. Like, he's been on the injury report most of the season. Since week 8, especially, where he got hurt against the Seahawks. This is his first game since week 8 that he hasn't been on the injury report, and he gets the Falcons. And we just saw the Falcons get absolutely dominated by the Patriots on the ground. So I don't hate James Robinson this week. I think he's a top 15 running back. The Falcons have allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. And James Robinson, while he hasn't been as good as we are used to over these last few games, he's still gotten over 10 points. He's still been a top 20 running back in each of his last 2 games. And that was with injuries. And now he doesn't have the injuries. So yeah, I think you start James Robinson this week. Thoughts on Ty Johnson this week? Yeah, Ty Johnson is a better play to me than Tevin Coleman. They're probably going to be split. Like, they're probably going to split the work, more or less. But to me, Ty Johnson is going to be the guy that's more involved in the passing game. So in PPR leagues, I would argue Ty Johnson is just the safer overall play. That's my general thoughts. I don't think either of them is going to have a massive, massive game. But to me, Ty Johnson's better than Tevin Coleman. And I think he can be considered in some PPR leagues. OBJ or Claypool? Yeah, Caleb, I think I'd probably still go Claypool. I like OBJ this week. I like his ceiling, but Claypool is a similar ceiling. Claypool is a similar ceiling, but probably a better floor. And he did pretty well against a pretty good Chargers secondary last week. 126 air yards. I think I would go Claypool. You saved me last week. Let me pull up this comment. You saved me last week. Now let's get to some magic again this week. Got to pick one. Higgins, Leviska, or Van Jefferson. Yeah, don't go Van Jefferson, Daniel. Like, with Odell back, and like after the bye week, Odell's going to see a pretty significant role in this offense. I think Van Jefferson's a must bench. Like, I still think Van Jefferson has a somewhat intriguing ceiling in his role, but he's definitely not a guy that you can trust. Like, his floor is really low. Van Jefferson could have under 2 catches this week, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. So I think you got to bench Van Jefferson. Leviskischenault, I talked about him a little bit earlier on the stream, and I know he's been super inconsistent this season. He's not a guy that you've been able to trust week in and week out, but Leviskischenault is being forced into the slot this week. Jamal Agnew is out for the season, and Jamal Agnew led the Jaguars in targets after the DJ Chark injury in the slot. And Leviskischenault dominated in the slot as a rookie. And so I expect him to play there for the majority of his game this week. And he gets the Falcons. So I think Leviskischenault is the option here, man. I think T. Higgins has a good ceiling too in a game that could be a pretty big shootout against the Steelers. The Steelers were torched last week by Mike Williams and by Keenan Allen. I think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have pretty intriguing upside this week. But I think Leviskischenault's got the safer floor. So personally, I think I'd go Leviska in a PPR league. Hey, Sam, who should I start at receiver this week? Judy, Waddle, or Elijah Moore? Chase, it's Elijah Moore, man. You got to start Elijah Moore. Hey, Sam, mixing a top 5 back this week. Yeah, if you come to the YouTube live, you can see my top 10 running backs. And no, I don't have Mixon as top 5. I have him ranked at number 7. So he's close. Like, you got to start Joe Mixon this week. I have him at number 7. I think the Steelers-Bengals game, though, could be really high scoring, which is going to be good for all guys in that game. Hey, Sam, is Jalen Hurts a must start? Yeah, he is. Jalen Hurts is a must start, man. Jalen Hurts has been the most consistent fantasy football quarterback this season. He has one game where he wasn't a top 12 quarterback, and then he gets the Giants this week. And the Giants are not a scary defense. We just saw the Buccaneers shred the Giants on national television. One of my locks against the spread this week is the Eagles over the Giants. I feel like there's this narrative going around that the firing of Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator for the Giants, is all of a sudden going to be this big boost for the Giants. Like, why is a team firing their offensive coordinator midseason all of a sudden a good thing for the offense? Like, I think long-term, it's a good thing for the Giants. The Giants need to clean house. But in season, it's not a good sign. Especially with Kadarius Toney and Sterling Shepard out, I don't have faith in the Giants offense this week. The only player on the Giants that I have any faith in this week is Saquon Barkley. They have to give him at least 20 touches this week, right? They have to. There's no Sterling Shepard. There's no Kadarius Toney. The Eagles' big weakness is against the run. Ty Johnson or Odell, love you, bro. Love you too, Cuz Zach. Thanks for tuning in, man. I think personally, like this is the situation where I would play Odell over Ty Johnson. And I won't be shocked if Ty Johnson outscores Odell. Like that's the floor we're dealing with Odell. But like this is the type of situation where you got to shoot for the upside, man. Like Ty Johnson's upside is like maybe 18 points. Like maybe Ty Johnson, if he scores a touchdown and he's really involved as a receiver, Ty Johnson could hit 18 points. But Odell's ceiling is much higher than that. And I can't get myself to bench Odell for a guy like Ty Johnson. Lots of injuries right now. So Bateman, Marvin Jones, Ty Johnson, or Tim Patrick. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I'd probably go Bateman. I think I'd go Rashad Bateman. It's Rashad Bateman or Ty Johnson for me here. And similar to the Odell thing, like Rashad Bateman just has a higher ceiling. Got the big bundle on the app. Jimmy, thanks, man. Guys, if you have not tried out one of the premium subscriptions in the WalterPicks app, which every single one of them comes, there's only two. There's the champion subscription, which is all the fantasy tools under $3 a month right now because of the Black Friday sale. But it also comes with a 7-day free trial. So this is the time to try out the 7-day free trial. Must-win week this week. You got Stafford versus Green Bay or Heineke versus Seattle. Yeah, I would go Stafford over Heineke this week. You got Mahomes on bye. And do you trust Hunt to start this week or give him some time full PPR? Yeah. Kareem Hunt feels like a guy that like he's got such a good chance at a touchdown every single week. And generally speaking, like these running backs don't come back until they're ready to play. Like it's actually pretty uncommon for a running back to be like eased back in. Kareem Hunt played at least 40% of the snaps in basically every game that he played this season. He's gotten over 10 points in 4 out of his 5 games. And he scored a touchdown in 5. He scored 5 touchdowns in the 6 games that he's played. So like I won't be shocked when Kareem Hunt scores a TD. But I do think if you have good options to start over Kareem Hunt, you probably should go with those good options. So there's 2 sides to every start state decision. I need to win this week. Taylor, Heineke, or Russell Wilson. Yeah, you got to go Russell Wilson, man. You got to go Russ over Heineke. Love the app. Just gave it a 5-star review. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Luca. I appreciate it, man. Quick question. Alex Collins, Jeff Wilson, or Van Jefferson? Yeah, I think I would rank these guys in this order, Luca. I would go Alex Collins, then Jeff Wilson, then Van Jefferson. Lockett or OBJ? Yeah, you got to go Lockett. You need to start Tyler Lockett. You need to start DK Metcalf. Let's run through some guys I think really quickly you have to start this week, game by game. We're going to go game by game in just the next like, we'll call it 2 minutes. Guys that you need to start. Let me pull this up here. All right. Must start players in week 12. Starting with the Carolina Panthers versus the Miami Dolphins. You got to start Cam Newton in a lot of situations. Cam Newton is a really safe floor. 2 rushing touchdowns last week, almost 50 rushing yards. Dolphins, one of the worst adjusted for strength of opponent rushing defenses in the league, but they've also struggled against quarterbacks this season. Cam Newton completed over 75% of his passes last week. I think Cam Newton is a quarterback 1 this week. You got to start DJ Moore as well. I actually think Robbie Anderson is a sneaky deep play this week too. I would be playing Robbie Anderson in some tournament lineups on DraftKings. He's had close to a 20% target share in the last couple of weeks with Cam Newton. For the Miami Dolphins, Myles Gaskin is a solid running back 2. I think Jalen Waddle is more like a wide receiver 3 this week. And Gesicki's a top 10 tight end. But I don't think any of them are necessarily must-starts. The Jaguars versus the Falcons. I think Leviskischenault is nearing must-start territory this week. He's going to be thrust into the slot where he thrives. I don't think he has the most exciting ceiling, but I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't get at least 10 fantasy points this week playing in the slot where he dominated as a rookie and where the Falcons have really struggled. I also think James Robinson is a must-start there. The Falcons have allowed 4 fantasy points per game running backs this season, and James Robinson is going to feast. For the Falcons, I think you got to start Cordell Patterson if he plays. I think you got to be starting Cordell Patterson if he plays. But really the only Falcons player that you absolutely have to start is Kyle Pitts. You need to start Kyle Pitts. You definitely need to be starting Kyle Pitts. Is Hunt playing? Yeah, it looks like Kareem Hunt is going to play. All right, the Steelers. You got to start Deante Johnson. You got to start Najee Harris. And for the Bengals, you got to start Jamar Chase. You got to start Joe Mixon. All the other players in those offenses, I think, aren't must starts. But there's still some other good options. Like Chase Claypool is still a good option. T. Higgins is not a horrible option. The Packers versus the Rams. I think you really need to be starting Darrell Henderson in most situations. I know Darrell Henderson hasn't been super consistent for us this season, but he's still the clear number one running back in a game that's supposed to have a lot of points scored. Obviously, you're starting Cooper Kupp, and you're starting Devontae Adams. I also think Odell Beckham Jr., if you're deciding between Odell Beckham Jr. and a guy like Ty Johnson, or Odell Beckham Jr. and a guy like Boston Scott, like you want Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham Jr. has a higher ceiling than most of these other guys. He also has a really low floor, so I don't think he's a must-start player. In the Chargers game, obviously we're starting Austin Eckler, you're starting Keenan Allen, you're starting, I think you got to be starting Jerry Jeudy too. I think Jerry Jeudy has a really high ceiling this week as well. Waddle or Beckham? Yeah, Philly NDK. I would be playing Odell Beckham Jr. over Jalen Waddle. Rankings, Waddle, Ayuk, more. Yeah, I would probably say this is Ayuk then more than Waddle. Just got the Black Friday sale premium on the WalterPicks app. Jonah, that's what I'm talking about, man. I'm glad to hear you're taking advantage of the sale. This is literally the cheapest you can get the WalterPicks app all year. Like, there's not going to be a time that's cheaper than this. Ty Johnson, Devonta Freeman, or Nick Westbrook. App says Freeman. Yeah, it's Freeman or Ty Johnson. I don't love Nick Westbrook this week. He's probably the number one receiver for the Titans heading into this game. But the Pats secondary has been really good this season. Like, there's probably going to be one Titans receiver that ends up being fantasy relevant. I just think it's not very predictable which Titans receiver that's going to be. It could easily be Des Fitzpatrick, for example. I think if this is a PPR league, I might go with Ty Johnson over Devonta Freeman. Latavius Murray could out-snap and out-touch Devonta Freeman easily any given week from here on out. But on top of that, we know Lamar Jackson could easily steal the rushing touchdowns too. So I don't think Devonta Freeman's the safest option. Personally, I think I'd go Ty Johnson in a PPR league. If it's not PPR, then I think I'd go Devonta Freeman. Jerry or Elijah Moore, PPR. Yeah, guys, do not bench Elijah Moore. Do not bench Elijah Moore. If you've been watching the games, I go back and I rewatch every game at least once. Elijah Moore is the real deal. And there's no Corey Davis this week. And he's in a good matchup against the Texans. There's just everything's aligning for Elijah Moore. You got to start Elijah Moore. Muth or Fant? Fant. No, it is Fant. I always correct myself to the wrong thing with Noah Fant. Yeah, you got to be starting Muth. Who do you think going to score the most this week? It's Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is my number one overall running back this week against the Dolphins. The Dolphins have a bottom 10 rushing defense when you adjust for strength of opponent. And Christian McCaffrey's gone over 20 points in over 90% of his games over the last 2.5 years. You got to start Christian McCaffrey. I have Christian McCaffrey in almost every single one of my DraftKings lineup for that exact reason. Another guy, though, that I think could surprise some people this week, there isn't any discounts on WalterPicks. Yeah, there is. James, there definitely is. I don't think we ended it. I'm almost positive we didn't end it, actually, because I would be the one that would end it. So there definitely is. It's like 33% off the fantasy subscription, 40% off the entire app subscription right now. You can shoot me an email, though. You can find my email in the app if you're seeing something else. But Saquon Barkley could surprise a lot of people this week, too. And I won't be shocked if he ends up leading the all running backs in points, which is why I'm starting both those guys in all of my tournament lineups. Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. You got to start Saquon Barkley this week. There's no way around it. Thielen or Odell. Yeah, Thielen. You got to start Thielen. If you have a good option over Odell, you start the good option. Like, you got to start all these receivers that you see at the bottom of the screen on the YouTube live. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube right now. If you're watching live on TikTok, link is in the TikTok bio to come to the YouTube live. But you got to start all of these top 10 receivers over Odell. And really, like, the next 10 receivers after this, too, you got to be starting over Odell. Yo, good morning, Sam. How was your Thanksgiving? Thanksgiving was great, Yarshma. I cashed on Deshaun Jackson. I think I had more money risked on Deshaun Jackson than any player prop I had taken the entire season. They set his line at 7.5 yards. And it was rushing and receiving yards. 7.5 yards is what they were allowing me to risk money on for Odell. For Deshaun. So that made Thanksgiving great. But on top of that, man, Thanksgiving is always my favorite day of the year. Time with family, amazing food. It was a great day. It really was a great day. And the stream was a W as well. Also, should I start Brandon, the bazooka train left the station, or Waddle? Yeah, Ayuka the bazooka, the train has been going. But there's still plenty of room. And yeah, you got to be starting Ayuka the bazooka. Yardsman. It's a good matchup for him. It really is. It's a better matchup than what Jalen Waddle has this week against the Panthers. Hey, Sam, love the app. How are you feeling about Rex Burkhead this week? Yeah, I'm glad someone asked about Rex. Because with Phillip Lindsay out of town for the Houston Texans, Rex Burkhead is going to see like at least 40% of the backfield opportunities for the Texans. And like that might not mean that much to people because it's the Texans. But guys, Rex Burkhead had 18 carries last week. He had 18 carries, and he gets the Jets this week. So, like, I think Rex Burkhead, he's in running back 3 territory still. He only had 4 points last week. He had 18 carries, 4 points. But against the Jets, he could easily score multiple touchdowns this week, which makes him on the running back 3 radar. And I think he's not the worst option ever. Elijah Moore or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, Tate, I'm starting both these guys in like most of my DraftKings lineups this week. But I would go Elijah Moore. I would go Elijah Moore over Brandon Cooks. Elijah Moore has been way more consistent than Brandon Cooks. Sam, 1-year sub, best app and data out there. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I need your help here. I'm struggling. At Flex, Gaskin, Crowder, or Elijah Mitchell? Yeah, I think you go Gaskin. I really don't feel good about Elijah Mitchell. And I know, like, I could end up being wrong about this one. I could end up being wrong about anything. Let's be real. But Elijah Mitchell is a guy that I'm staying away from this week, Matt. Because you read the reports about practice this week for the 49ers, and Elijah Mitchell, like, he hasn't been able to catch a pass since his finger injury. It feels very unlikely to me that Elijah Mitchell is involved in the passing game, like, at all. Maybe the rest of the season, and definitely this week. And so if you're in a PPR league, I don't know how you could feel good about that. So I'm benching Elijah Mitchell for sure. I think Gaskin and Crowder, they were both pretty good options. There's no Corey Davis this week. And Crowder's up against the Texans. Like, Crowder, to me, is a pretty safe play. But I think I'd probably still be going Gaskin. He's seeing more work. And I know the Dolphins just signed Phillip Lindsay. That doesn't scare me that much. I think Crowder might actually be safer than Gaskin. I would probably lean Crowder. I think the Dolphins could really struggle against the Panthers. Is Cordero Patterson playing? That there's not been an official report on that I've seen yet, but it feels like yes. He's trending towards playing. I think we'll get an official report about that, though, at some point during this live stream. What we won't get an official report about, though, during this live stream is about Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones is a game-time call, but that game's not till later in the day. So right now, it seems like Aaron Jones is going to play, but since they're bye weeks next week, there's a chance that he doesn't play. I'm seeing a question about Dalvin Cook versus A.J. Dillon. And again, we don't know the Aaron Jones news. So you got to play Dalvin Cook. Yeah, I'm not seeing any news about Cordero Patterson or Aaron Jones yet. Really quickly, guys, again, let me pull up the spreads that I like this week. YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio to the YouTube Live, by the way. Kareem Hunt or A.J. Dillon. Yeah, I'd go A.J. Dillon over Kareem Hunt. Gronk or Pitts. You got to start Pitts. I like Gronk this week, too. I'm playing Gronk in a lot of DraftKings lineups this week, but you got to play Pitts against the Jaguars. Moore or OBJ. Yeah, Moore. It's Moore. And, guys, there's a lot of Moores, by the way. There's Elijah Moore. There's DJ Moore. There's Kellen Moore, who's not in the NFL anymore, I don't think. There's more Moores than that, too. There's a lot of Moores. So you got to specify which Moore you're talking about. But no, I would play DJ Moore and Elijah Moore over OBJ this week. Hollywood Brown or OBJ? Yeah, I'd probably go Hollywood Brown there too. Guys, almost every single spread except for the Patriots game is under a 4-point spread this week. There's going to be so many good games. Vegas is expecting a lot of good games. The Jets are 2.5-point underdogs versus the Texans. The Eagles, 3.5-point favorites versus the Giants. The Bucks, 3-point favorites versus the Colts. The Jaguars, 2-point underdogs against the Falcons. The Panthers, 2.5-point favorites against the Dolphins. Every single game is supposed to be within a field goal today. Going to be some good football. Start Kareem. Yeah, I think Kareem Hunt's a risky running back 3. Like, he's been over 10 points in all but one game this season, and I think that he's going to have a good chance at a touchdown this week. But it's his first game back. So I do think that it's pretty risky. Russ, Wentz, or Cam. I would probably go Cam, then Wentz, then Russ. I think that's how I would rank them this week. Should I drop Ridley? Yeah, Chase. I dropped Ridley last week. It was sad. It's a sad thing to be doing. But at this point in the season, Calvin Ridley can be dropped. He can. Because you just look at the situation for the Falcons, and even if Calvin Ridley was ready to come back, like why come back now? It feels really unlikely that Calvin Ridley plays again this season. I do hope this isn't the end of Calvin Ridley's career. It would just be sad to see such a talented player end his career this early. But at this point, you can drop Calvin Ridley for this season. Miles Sanders or Gibson? Yeah, I think I'd lean towards Miles Sanders over Gibson. I'd lean towards Miles Sanders over A.J. Dillon too if Aaron Jones plays Caden. But we don't know for sure Aaron Jones is going to play or not. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, A.J. Dillon's a top 10 running back. DJ Moore or Elijah Moore? Yeah, I like Elijah Moore more than DJ Moore. I like Elijah Moore more than DJ Moore. With Corey Davis out, I don't know how you could feel bad about Elijah Moore this week. I like DJ Moore too, though. Like I do. DJ Moore still has at least 7 targets in every game this season. There's very few receivers you can say that about. Tyler Lockett or DJ Moore? Yeah, if I pull up my top 10 wide receivers this week, you won't find Tyler Lockett or DJ Moore on there, but they are both like right outside the top 10. I think DJ Moore's the safer play over Tyler Lockett, but Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are 2 guys that I really would strongly caution you to bench this week. Love me the weekly Android update. We got an Android update, guys. Let me see if I can remember my password this time. I can. I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate. Navigate the Android. It's like really confusing but check this out, guys. This is an Android phone. Guys, this is an Android phone. Look at this Android update. Look at this. It's loading on Android. Guys, it's coming so soon. I'm going to get this out before the fantasy football playoffs for the Android people. It's coming. No, I'm not saying to bench DK. Sorry if I was confusing there. No, you should start DK. You need to start DK Metcalf, and you should start Tyler Lockett too. Guys, the Android update. Oh, sorry, TikTok, you can't see. It's tough to see on TikTok because of the green screen. Let me turn the green screen off for a second for the TikTok people. Android update, guys. Floating very slow on Android, but it's coming. It is coming to the Android. Very exciting. Very exciting stuff. I can't wait to get the Android app out there. Guys, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they're back this week. Kareem Hunt's likely back against the Ravens. I think that he's not a must start this week, but I still think you can start him. Who should I start, Devonta Freeman or Miles Sanders? Yeah, definitely Miles Sanders. There's no Jordan Howard this week. Miles Sanders is definitely in a good spot. Hey, Sammy boy, full PPR, Marvin Jones, Leviskischenault, Van Jefferson, or Judy. Yeah, I'd probably go Judy, then Chenault. I like Chenault more than Marvin Jones this week. Russ or mac and cheese? Yeah, I think I'd go Russ over mac and cheese. I just feel like this Patriots game could end up being a big run-heavy day for the Pats. Mac Jones has a good matchup against the Titans, who have had a pretty weak secondary this season. I think Russ is a higher upside option. Hey, Sam, love the app. Thanks, Dante. I appreciate that. Which 2 would you start between Henderson, Hollywood, Ayuk, Jameson, Crowder? Yeah, I think I'd go Henderson and Ayuk. Cam or Rodgers this week? I'd probably go Cam over Rodgers. The Rams, guys, the Rams bye week came at the perfect time for the Rams. Like, they were crumbling, and they were not making the most out of the talent that they have. I think that changes this week. Cousins, not top 10. No, Cousins was right outside the top 10. I did want to put Cousins in there. Like, Cousins has a pretty good matchup this week against the 49ers. I have Jimmy G right in there at number 10. I actually think Jimmy G's slightly ahead of Kirk Cousins for me this week. That could end up being a mistake. It could. Like, Kirk Cousins isn't a bad option. The 49ers have allowed the 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season, but the Vikings have allowed the 7th most. They both are bottom 10. That game could be really, really high scoring. And the Vikings did just do really, really well against a good Packer secondary. So I could be wrong here, but I wanted to include Matthew Stafford coming off the bye, and I think Cam Newton has a really good matchup too. Russell Wilson's probably the guy that shouldn't be in the top 10 that is. I just traded Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, and A.J. Brown and Hawk for Kittle, Saquon, Brandon Cooks. Thoughts? Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I think Saquon Barkley could easily win leagues this season. Hilliard or Hunt? Yeah, that's a tough call. I'd probably still go Hunt over Hilliard. But in a PPR league, I won't be surprised when Hilliard scores 10-plus points. What's this real ceiling for Hilliard? It's got to be real low, man. Allen or Evans, wide receiver, and Kittle or Andrews, tight end. Yeah, you got to start. You really got to start Keenan Allen over Mike Evans. Like, I like Mike Evans against the Colts, but you got to start Keenan Allen. And I'd be starting Kittle over Andrews too. Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon. Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, it's Aaron Jones. But if he doesn't play, obviously it's A.J. Dillon. Odell or Stevenson. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of projections out there having Ramondre Stevenson projected ahead of Damian Harris. Like, a lot of people are projecting Ramondre Stevenson ahead of Damian Harris, and I feel like we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But even in the WalterPicks app, Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris, they were projected like almost the exact same amount of points. Because Ramondre Stevenson has looked better than Damian Harris. But I still think going with Ramondre here is kind of a risky option. So I think I wouldn't go with Ramondre. James Robinson or Cordell Patterson at flex? Yeah, you got to go James Robinson. Elijah Mitchell is the guy that you should bench. You should bench Elijah Mitchell, but not for Tevin Coleman. Hilliard or Aaron Jones? Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, it's Aaron Jones. But we're not going to know if Aaron Jones is going to play until like an hour before that game. So you're going to have to make the call before we know, in which case it's not that crazy to go with Hilliard. Yes, you can still start A.J. Dillon if Aaron Jones plays. A.J. Dillon has secured the Jamal Williams role, just like we thought he was going to be. Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins? Yeah, I think you go Aaron Rodgers. You got to go Aaron Rodgers. Cam Newton or Herbert? I have Justin Herbert ranked as my number 3 quarterback this week. I don't know how you could be down on Justin Herbert after what we saw from him in his past game against a good defense. Rodgers or Stafford? Yeah, I think I go Rodgers over Stafford too. Patterson or Fournette? I'd lean towards Fournette. I have Fournette as a top 10 running back this week. I feel like Fournette's one of these guys that's been a buy low candidate for quite some time. Marvin Jones or Courtland Sutton, PPR? Yeah, guys, Courtland Sutton's dead in fantasy. Like, you can't start Courtland Sutton. He's seen way too few targets to be trusted. Since Jerry Jeudy has returned, I don't think Courtland Sutton even has a game with more than 4 targets. Like, he's not the number 1 receiver on his own team. And the Broncos are also a really run-heavy squad. Yeah, he's had 5 or fewer targets in 4 straight games. Not a guy you can trust. You can't trust Courtland Sutton. So bench Courtland Sutton. Even though I don't love Marvin Jones either, I think you go Marvin Jones. Jamal Agnew being out helps Marvin Jones and Leviskischenault. Goddard or Muth? This one's good. Dallas Goddard or Muth? And I get the hype surrounding Muth right now. Like, it's rightfully there with Eric Ebron out. But Goddard's a better option. He has a better matchup, and he's seen more consistent volume. I like Goddard just a little bit more. Elijah Moore or Jamar Chase? Yeah, you got to go Jamar Chase. Come on. Can we trust Kareem Hunt? Yeah, I think you can play Kareem Hunt. But there's got to be a little bit of risk with Kareem Hunt this week. Pittman Jr. or Elijah Moore? Definitely Elijah Moore. Hey, WalterPicks, please help. Pick 2, Pittman, Hollywood, or Waddle. Yeah, I'd probably go Hollywood over Pittman and over Waddle. I feel like Hollywood's also a little bit risky. Bro, my playoffs are on the line. Do I start A.J. Dillon or Rashad Bateman or Laviska at flex? A.J. Dillon, Rashad Bateman, or Leviskischenault at flex. We don't know if Aaron Jones is going to play. But you will know before Rashad Bateman plays. So I think this is one of those where you wait and you wait and you wait for the Aaron Jones news right before the game. If Aaron Jones is not playing, you need to play A.J. Dillon. If Aaron Jones is playing, then you play Rashad Bateman. That's what I would do. Weatherman Sam, any weather to be concerned about today? Bateman, Judy, or OBJ in a half PPR league? Yeah, I think I would probably rank these guys: Judy number 1, Bateman number 2, OBJ number 3. Again, I think OBJ has a higher ceiling than Bateman, but Judy has just as high of a ceiling as OBJ does. In terms of weather, another week where the weather report is there's nothing really to report. There's going to be some colder games this week. Like the weather across just the country is getting colder in the U.S. The Packers, I think, game is near freezing temperatures, like below 30. But I have no wind to report about. There's not even really any rain or snow to be concerned about this week. So no real weather update. That's the weather update. Make sure you tune back in next week as Sam part-times as a weatherman. Really, I think I got a future career as a weatherman. Thank you for all you do for us, Sam. Pick 2 full PPR, Devonta Smith, Higgins, Elijah Moore, Bateman. Guys, again, you got to start Elijah Moore. Definitely Elijah Moore over OBJ. I'm seeing that in the TikTok comments. And you got to start him over T. Higgins. You got to start him over Devonta Smith. You got to start him over Rashad Bateman. As for the second option here, I'd probably go Devonta Smith over T. Higgins, but it's close. I think Bateman's the guy to bench, though. Hey, Sam, your app got me from 0-3 to 7-4. Ty, that is what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. And for all of you feeling good about your fantasy teams, though, we're not done yet. We're not done yet. Don't celebrate too soon, man. Do not celebrate too soon. Wait, there's steps to winning your fantasy football championship. Step 1 is making the playoffs, but you can't celebrate once you're in the playoffs because you still got a lot more work to do. Keenan or James Robinson at flex. Yeah, I would argue that James Robinson's safer than Keenan Allen, but I mean, there's not very many safer wide receivers than Keenan Allen. I think you go Keenan Allen. I do think James Robinson could have a massive day against the Falcons. The Falcons have allowed the 4th most fantasy points to running backs this season. So, like, both these options are really good. I think they're both in my top 10. But you just look at the consistency for Keenan Allen, and he's just such a tough guy to bench. You look at his game logs over the last 4 games. He has gotten 20 points, 22 points, 18 points, 20 points. Like he's gotten at least 18 points in 4 straight. Doesn't have a game under 10 points all season. So, yeah, I would go Keenan Allen. Crowder or Lockett? Yeah, you go Lockett there. You got to go Lockett there. Judy or Devonta Smith? God, I want to say Devonta Smith, but I really feel like Judy has a high ceiling this week. It's not a good matchup for Judy on paper. But then you look at the last game for the Chargers, and the Chargers let up a lot of points to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what's usually a good secondary was torched by Deante Johnson and Chase Claypool. Jerry Jeudy, on the other hand, though, has had at least 8 targets in 2 consecutive games. He's a really high target share, really, since he's returned. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet. But he's still gone over 10 points in 3 of his last 4. I think I'd lean Judy. Galladay or A.J. Dillon? Yeah, I'd go A.J. Dillon. Galladay, like, it feels like Galladay has sneaky upside this week, right? They just fired their offensive coordinator. That could help Kenny Galladay out. There's no Sterling Shepard. There's no Kadarius Toney. But he's going to be up against Darius Slay. And Darius Slay has been one of the best corners in the league this season. So I don't think Kenny Galladay is that safe of an option. Pick 1, Elijah Moore, Devonta Smith, Mike Williams, or Cordell Patterson. Yeah, it's Elijah Moore. Hunt, Patterson, or Smith at flex. Yeah, I'd go Smith. I'd go Smith over Michael Pittman this week, too. Locks against the spread. Yeah, Raiden, man. We hit another lock on Thanksgiving. We've hit 3 straight locks now. We're at 66% accuracy on the locks. That is way more accurate than I possibly could have expected. Like, seriously, I don't think we'll finish this season at a 66% rate on the locks. But I do have 2 more today that I'm feeling really good about. One of them is the Eagles minus 3.5 against the Giants. And I like Saquon Barkley a lot this week. But outside of Saquon Barkley, I don't know why people are feeling optimistic about the Giants all of a sudden. It feels like there's this narrative going around about the Giants that the firing of their offensive coordinator is going to boost the offense. I don't really think that's necessarily true. Firing your offensive coordinator in the middle of the season isn't usually a good sign. So while I think Jason Garrett was part of the problem, I don't think he was the whole problem. Like there's much bigger problems for the Giants. So I think the Eagles beat them pretty easily. These are two teams going in opposite directions. The Eagles could beat the Giants by 20 plus points today. And then my other lock is the Rams against the Green Bay Packers. Was it the Rams? Let me pull this up. Yeah, it was the Rams. The Rams are only 1-point favorites. They're 1-point favorites against the Packers. And I just believe that the bye week came at the perfect time for the Rams to figure it out. Like I trust the Rams to figure it out. They have the talent. They just need to figure out how to use the talent correctly. Are you sure, bro? Elijah Moore over Cordero Patterson. Yeah, Elijah Moore has a better matchup than Cordero Patterson. Elijah Moore is really like he's just a lock for at least 10 points, but he isn't even a much higher ceiling than that. So, bro, I'm sure. You got to go Elijah Moore over Cordero Patterson. Obviously, nothing's guaranteed in fantasy. If Aaron Jones plays, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, or Ayuk. Yeah, if Aaron Jones plays, I don't think you're crazy for just Adam going with Ayuk. Ayuk of the Bazooka is in a really good matchup this week. Stafford is dealing with chronic back pain. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that report this morning, which made me feel a little bit worse about the lock. But like at the same time, I really don't really care that much. Like you look at, and this is honestly, maybe this is going to push the spread even to like an even game. Maybe this is going to turn into a pick'em just because of this one report about chronic back pain for Matthew Stafford. Guys, Matthew Stafford has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks this season. He's struggled recently, but he's been really efficient this year. Like he's not getting any credit for how efficient he's been because of recent struggles. Let me see. Has this spread changed? No, it hasn't changed. The Rams, I'm still seeing the Rams as -1. But yeah, there's a report about chronic back pain and elbow pain for Matthew Stafford. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford, number 2 in adjusted yards per attempt. He's, I think, number 1 in EPA per play. Like, Stafford has been good. And I think he's going to continue to be good, despite the chronic back pain. Like, they have stuff for that. I don't know. I'm not that worried about the chronic back pain. Maybe I should be. But I'm not that worried about it. Okay, Sam. Got Kyle Pitts at tight end, but for my flex, should I play Gronk or Mike Williams or Waddle? Yeah, again, I say this every single stream, it feels like. Don't play 2 tight ends. Don't play 2 tight ends. Why would you want to play 2 tight ends? And I like Gronk this week. I think Gronk has a high ceiling. But he's a tight end, which makes his floor really low. So I would play Mike Williams. I would play Mike Williams over Gronk. Ty Johnson or Dontrell Hilliard. Yeah, so I'm also just – sorry, my chair is super loud. I'm also just reading this report right now about D'Onta Foreman, who's expected to get the bulk of the carries in the Titans' Week 12 game against the Patriots. I don't think that's necessarily surprising. But Dontrell Hilliard is going to be the guy that gets the receiving work, more so than D'Onta Foreman. The Patriots have allowed a lot of passes to running backs this season. They're bottom 5 in the league in that metric. So I don't think Dontrell Hilliard is the worst option. Hey, Sam, just subscribe to the channel. Yeah, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. When we get to 200 likes today, I got a free prop pick for us. Just smash the like button. Smash the like button, guys. We're closer to 200 likes than you think. Hit the like button. When we get to 200 likes, I have a free prop pick for us today. We've hit 3 straight free prop picks now. So smash the like button. We have over 200 people tuned in across YouTube and TikTok right now. So hit the like button. We're almost at 100. We're almost halfway there. We're like about halfway through the stream. More Terry McLaurin. Guys, I really think you can't be benching Elijah Moore this week. Like, don't bench Elijah Moore. Sutton, Harris, or Hilliard. You have to be benching Cortland Sutton at this point. I think I'd go Damian Harris over Hilliard. Ty Johnson or Myles Gaskin? Yeah, I'd go Gaskin over Ty Johnson. My wife loves you. Wow. That is not something I ever expected anyone to say to me. Gibson, Gaskin, or Gronk need 2. Yeah, I think I would probably go Gibson and Gaskin. Again, I don't want to start 2 tight ends. So I would just go Gibson and Gaskin. What Seattle running back do I play? It's definitely Alex Collins. Aaron Jones or Javonte Williams? I think it's Aaron Jones if he plays. But again, I think that Broncos game, I'm pretty sure the Broncos game's later in the day too. So you will know. So if Aaron Jones plays, it's Aaron Jones. Hollywood or Miles Sanders? Miles Sanders is much safer than Hollywood Brown this week. Van Jefferson, Gesicki, or Golladay, full PPR. Yeah, this one I feel like you got to go, Alec. I feel like you got to go Golladay. It's not a good matchup for Golladay, but there's no Sterling Shepard. There's no Kadarius Toney. I think you go Golladay there. Hey, Sam, good morning. Hope you're doing well. If I don't win my matchup this week, it could be the end of the season. Oh, you're in last. Oh, we can't. Kylo, you cannot come in last, man. Ty Johnson or David Johnson. Should I get Laviska and drop Tim Patrick? Or Valdez-Scantling? Yeah, get Laviska and drop Tim Patrick. And I think I would lean towards Ty Johnson over David Johnson. Because Rex Burkhead's got 18 carries last week. Like, Rex Burkhead's very involved for the Texans. Mike Williams or Ayuka the Bazooka? Yeah, I'd go Ayuka the Bazooka over Mike Williams. Elijah Mitchell or Deontay Foreman? I would go Deontay Foreman. I think Elijah Mitchell is a stay-away trap player for me this week. Kittle or Pitts? Those are the top 2 tight ends for me this week. The top 2 tight ends. If you come to the YouTube Live, link is in the TikTok bio for the YouTube Live. You can see my top 10 tight ends scrolling at the bottom of the screen, and you'll see Kittle's the guy that you just have to start. Crowder or Valdez-Scantling? Yeah, I'd go Crowder there. OBJ or Elijah Moore? Guys, start Elijah Moore. Start Elijah Moore this week. And Cam Newton versus Russell Wilson's so close. I've already seen that question today. I think I said Cam Newton. I would go Cam Newton. I messed up playing Tony Jones this week. Yeah. Tony Jones was a massive trap. He was a massive trap. Like, we talked about him on the Thanksgiving stream, and we were pretty head on. Like, we knew he was going to get at least 15 touches, but that didn't necessarily make him a must start. Because he had, what do you have, 16 carries, but he finished with like 2 points. Pick 2, Devonta Freeman, Miles Sanders, or Deontay Foreman. Yeah, I think I'd go Miles Sanders. Excuse me. I would go Miles Sanders for sure. I could feel that sneeze coming for like the last 2 minutes. I think I would go Miles Sanders for sure. And then probably Deontay Foreman over Devonta Freeman. I'd probably go Deontay Foreman over Devonta Freeman. I don't feel great about that one. Obviously, Devonta Freeman's on the better offense, the better rushing offense. But I won't be surprised when Deontay Foreman out-touches Devonta Freeman this week. Wentz or Bridgewater? Yeah, I'd go Wentz. Wentz has low-key having a good season. He's low-key having a good season. I think you kind of have to go Wentz. Teddy Bridgewater is actually low-key having a good season too, but I would go Wentz in a game that's going to be really high. I would go T. Higgins over Elijah Mitchell too. I would bench Elijah Mitchell. Some guys that I'm benching this week, I think you need to be benching Elijah Mitchell. Bro, you pulled my question and didn't answer it. Yeah, I tend to do that sometimes by accident, James. Let me scroll back up and see if I can find it. Or if you just ask it again, James, I'll pull it up because there's a lot of comments, man. I will try to get to as many comments as I can, though. I will. This is my favorite gift on TikTok. Thank you for that. The glasses are absolute fire. I will try to answer your question on TikTok, too, if you toss a gift. Hey, Sam, is Bateman still a good play even if Hollywood plays? Yeah, Bateman is still a good play. He still is a good play. DFS, yeah, let me pull up my DFS guys to start. Aaron Jones or Sanders? Yeah, I'd lean towards Sanders over Aaron Jones this week. Murray's on bye, so hesitating on Cousins versus Newton. Yeah, they're both good options. Kirk Cousins is a good option this week. I have Cam Newton ranked ahead of Kirk Cousins, but I wouldn't knock you for going Kirk Cousins over Cam. Kirk Cousins gets the 49ers. They've allowed the 9th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season. And Kirk Cousins just torched a good Packers secondary. So I don't think Kirk Cousins is a bad option, but Cam Newton gets the Dolphins. The Dolphins out of 10. Should I trade Mixon and CD for Devontae Adams? No, I don't think I would do that. Godwin or Pittman? Definitely Godwin. Guys, start Chris Godwin. This is the first question I've seen about Chris Godwin, and that's for good reason. Chris Godwin's the guy that you just have to start. There's no Antonio Brown again this week. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The Colts secondary has not been good. Is Jalen Hurts QB1 rest of year? If by QB1 you mean like the QB1, probably not. Probably not. But will he be a top 5 QB rest of the season? Probably. This has been the case for Jalen Hurts all season. Muth or Noah Fant. Yeah, I would go Muth over Fant for sure. Like, it's honestly, Eddie, not that close. You got to play Muth over Fant. Fant has not had a good season. Let me pull these up. James, did I miss your question again? I'm not sure if I did. Pitts or Gronk? Yeah, you got to start Pitts. You got to start Pitts over Gronk. I like Gronk this week too, but you got to start Pitts. Let me pull up my top 10 wide receivers on the YouTube Live. Link is in the TikTok bio, by the way, for the YouTube Live, where you get my top 10 quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, favorite picks against the spread, and much more. Come to the YouTube Live. It's also easier for me to pull your comments up on the YouTube Live. You can see my DK lineup on the YouTube Live as well. Again, the link is in the TikTok bio to the YouTube Live. Let me pull up my DraftKings lineup again really quickly. Hell no, Gronk over Pitts, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think you're crazy for starting Gronk over Pitts. Gronk has a better matchup than even Pitts does. Like, the Colts have not been very good against tight ends. But Pitts is going to see more volume than Gronk, guys. He's going to see more volume than Gronk, and that's really what rankings are about. Like, who's going to see more volume? And Kyle Pitts hasn't even been as consistent as Gronk this season. But the Jaguars, they've allowed the 13th most points to tight ends. Like, the Jaguars are also one of these teams that is going to not do the most optimal things. Like, they could easily be one of these teams that does not focus on Kyle Pitts enough. And if that happens, Kyle Pitts is going to have a monster day. So personally, I'm going Kyle Pitts over Gronk. I don't think that you're crazy for going Gronk over Kyle Pitts, though. Like, it's certainly close. Can you explain why Elijah Moore is a must-start player this week? Yeah, I can. Elijah Moore, guys, has been balling out in the last 4 weeks. They've finally started to give Elijah Moore more opportunity, and he's been taking advantage of the opportunity. If you just look at his last 3 games, he's gotten over 25 points twice. Last week, he put up 141 yards and a touchdown on 8 catches against the Dolphins. And this week, Corey Davis is out. So last week, he had an 80% snap share. That was the most he's played since week 1 when Jameson Crowder was out. And so with Corey Davis out this week, we can expect another 80% plus of the snaps for Elijah Moore, who's been their top receiver over the last 3 weeks. And the Texans are not a scary defense. So, like, there's so many reasons to like Elijah Moore. The matchup is good. Like, he's been balling out recently. So those are just some of the reasons to go with Elijah Moore. I'm playing him over Antonio Gibson and Miles Sanders in a PPR league. The ceiling for Elijah Moore is so high, but the floor is also really high too. I think Pitt's ceiling every week is 8. Sam, talk about the Cleveland Browns immediately. Yeah, guys, this is a big game for the Browns this week. This is a big game for the Browns. Like, the Browns need to win this game. You look at the standings in the NFL right now, and really, like, the Browns are not in a good spot if they lose this game. They're already in last in the AFC North, but they're only in last by a game. If they win this game, all of a sudden they're in first. Probably the most competitive division in the league this season. I expected the most competitive division to be the NFC West, but it really isn't the NFC West. It's the AFC North. I think that the Browns lose to the Ravens this week, though. I know, Jack, you're in here right now. Our Browns.WalterPicks creator. Make sure you're following him, by the way, if you're not following him. But the Ravens are good. This is honestly less about the Browns for me than it is the Ravens. I think the Ravens are just too good for the Browns to beat. Like, to me, the Ravens are better than the Pats, and we saw what happened when the Browns played the Pats. Dylan or Devonta Smith? Yeah, I'd probably go Devonta Smith over Dylan. Guys, we're over halfway to 200 likes on the YouTube Live. Hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. And hit the subscribe button, too, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet. We're trying to hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of this season. We're over halfway there. Henderson or A.J. Dillon? Yeah, you got to start Henderson. Lamar or Newton? Guys, do not bench Lamar. Do not bench Lamar, ever. Really, like, you just can't bench Lamar. Packers or Rams? I'm taking the Rams. Yeah, you should play Fournette. I'm taking the Rams over the Packers. I'm buying into the bye week hype for the Rams. I could look back at this and think and feel like wrong about this. Like, this might not be the right take. It might not be the right take. But I'm taking the Rams over the Packers. It feels like the Rams bye week came at the perfect time for the Rams. The Rams are more talented than the Packers. The Rams really have the most talented team in the league. When you look at, like, just both sides of the ball. So I think the Rams beat the Packers. Tannehill or Mac Jones? You got to go Mac Jones. Guys, you can't start Tannehill. Is Elijah Moore a start? Yeah, guys, Elijah Moore is a must start. Elijah Moore is a must start. Rams don't have 12. What does that mean? What does that mean? Rams don't have 12. Dillon or Gibson, flex. If Aaron Jones plays, it's Gibson. If Aaron Jones doesn't play, it's definitely A.J. Dillon. Stafford or Rodgers. Yeah, I like Rodgers more than Stafford. I like the Rams more than the Packers, but I like Rodgers more than Stafford. So I guess I'm conflicting myself a little bit there. Chance Aaron Jones plays. It feels like it's like, to me, Wyatt, right now, it feels like there's like a 70% chance he plays. Like, it feels like he's going to play. He practiced all week. But then there is like other side of it where they have Bob coming up right after this week. And so maybe they just wait and let him be 100%. It's not like a deal. That option makes sense. That's why I don't think it's 20%. Injury report on Saquon. Sorry, I don't know. I think the YouTube live was just bugging for a second. But we're back. Hey, Sam, I love the app. Start Pittman, Evans, Thielen, or Cooks. Evans. Evans. Definitely Evans. Lockett or Westbrook. Kime or Pittman. Yeah, go Lockett. Definitely Lockett there. I traded Zeke for AJ. Yeah, probably good. Probably good. Okay. I think it's hopefully YouTube last time. Let me know. Kittle or Gronk? Yeah, I would definitely start over Gronk. AJ Brown or Keenan. AJ Brown's on IR. Check out my last video. AJ Brown's on IR. The second I saw that news, I'm in Deadpool. Hey Sam, call it. Who might be wide receiver one Giants today? Or Devonta, who might get more carries to record total and it cost the game. Yeah, I think I'd go Devonta over Goddard. Hopefully the lag is, looks like the connection is not great right now, guys, on YouTube Live. We're live talking about right now. I don't know if the computer or the connection, but hopefully turn around. Mac or Terod, Mac against the Titans, secondary Terod versus the Jets. Yeah, I would go for it over Mac Jones. Najee Harris or Joe Mixon. Yeah, I lean towards Najee Harris over Jason. I think they're both options, though. Yeah, lag's looking really bad right now on YouTube Live. I just pulled it up. Guys, I think what we need to do today or Marquise Brown. I think I'm feeling over Marquise Brown. I do. Elijah Moore or you, both good options this week. I would go Elijah Moore though over you. Elijah Moore over you. Guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up the YouTube Live. The connection is struggling. The connection is struggling. So I think we might just only do TikTok Live today. But Sam, oh man, that's not good. Elijah or Hollywood Brown. Yeah, I would go with Elijah over Hollywood Brown. Stafford or Ross, as you need to be starting. Also with Stafford. I'm sorry. You gotta start over Stafford. I like Stafford this week too. And I think the Rams Packers, but Ross is too high ceiling than Washington. They sent pick 2. Stop spamming. Will Sully, how's it going, man? Good to see you back in the live. Football. And Patrick McKissick, Hilliard, or Foreman, thanks. And also Tom Ham, thanks. And don't bench Brady this week. Yeah, I would probably go. I'd probably go with Foreman. Hilliard, McKissick, and Patrick. PPR, you got Hilliard versus Foreman really close. But I'd probably lean with Foreman over Hilliard. No font, no offense, or move. Yeah, you gotta move. Guys, you gotta move. I'm guaranteed to make playoffs. Should I trade Zeke? Yeah, you should. Higgins or Bateman? I think Higgins is just a little better than Bateman this week. Would you do Hollywood and Henderson for Mixon? Yeah, I think maybe that trade. Especially if you're not starting Hollywood and Henderson, like if Hollywood's on the bench, for example, then yeah. Elijah Miller here. I would lean towards Hilliard. I think Elijah Mitchell is just a major trap this week. I think he's a major trap this week. All right, we're ending YouTube Live. Unfortunately, ending YouTube Live due to some internet problems.